Hello, my dear subscribers. Today I will tell you the story of Steve Jobs, a visionary, an innovator, and a man who forever changed the way we use technology. His life was a journey filled with creativity, failures, comebacks, and an unshakable belief in thinking differently. Steve Jobs is remembered not only for the products he created, but for the mindset he inspired, to challenge the ordinary, to value simplicity, and to never settle for less than excellence. Let us begin. Childhood adoption. Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California. His biological parents, Joanne Schiebel and Abdul Fattah Jandali, were graduate students who felt unprepared to raise a child. They gave him up for adoption, and he was taken in by Paul and Clara Jobs. Paul, a machinist, loved working with his hands. He would repair cars in the garage and took Steve along, teaching him how to build things with precision and care. Jobs later said that watching his father build fences, making sure the back looked just as good as the front, even though no one would see it, shaped his own obsession with perfection and design. Clara, his adoptive mother, was nurturing and supportive, ensuring Steve felt secure. Steve grew up in Mountain View, California, a place that later became Silicon Valley. This environment of electronics and innovation deeply influenced him. From a young age, he displayed both curiosity and rebellion. He could be mischievous, but he was also gifted, often finishing schoolwork quickly and then getting bored. Teachers noticed his intelligence, and one even suggested that Jobs skip ahead a grade. Early education. As a boy, Jobs enjoyed tinkering with electronics. He became friends with engineers in his neighborhood and absorbed knowledge by watching and experimenting. During high school at Homestead High, he joined the Hewlett-Packard Explorers Club, where students could see new technologies before they were on the market. It was at one of these meetings that Jobs saw his first computer. He later recalled the experience as almost magical, realizing that computers were not just machines but tools that could be used to empower human imagination. During this period, Jobs also met Steve Wozniak, a shy but brilliant electronics enthusiast. Wozniak was older, but the two connected instantly over their shared love for building things. This friendship was the beginning of a partnership that would reshape the technology industry. College and dropout. In 1972, Jobs graduated from high school and enrolled at Reed College in Portland, Oregon. The tuition was expensive, and his adoptive parents struggled financially, but they wanted to support him. Jobs, however, found little value in the formal education system. After just one semester, he dropped out. Still, he stayed on campus, sleeping on friends' floors and returning soda bottles for food money. He continued to audit classes that interested him, particularly calligraphy. Jobs was fascinated by typography, spacing, and the artistic beauty of letters. Years later, he said, "If I had never dropped in on that calligraphy class, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts." This shows how even seemingly small experiences shaped Apple's design philosophy. India and spiritual journey. In 1974, Jobs traveled to India with his friend Daniel Kotke. He was searching for spiritual meaning, simplicity, and purpose. They visited ashrams, studied Eastern philosophy, and practiced meditation. Jobs returned home a changed man. He embraced Zen Buddhism and adopted minimalist habits that later influenced Apple's product design. He believed that simplicity was not just a style, but a way of life, removing the unnecessary to reveal the essential. This philosophy would later be seen in Apple's clean, intuitive products. Atari pre-Apple days. After returning from India, Jobs joined Atari, a video game company known for Pong. Though unconventional and often barefoot, Jobs impressed his managers with creative solutions. At this time, Wozniak had been working on a personal computer prototype. Jobs saw its potential not just as a hobbyist tool but as a consumer product. He convinced Wozniak that they could sell it to a wider market. Together, they began working from Jobs' garage. Founding Apple. In 1976, Jobs and Wozniak founded Apple Computer with the help of Ronald Wayne, who left the company soon after. They sold Jobs' Volkswagen van and Wozniak's calculator to fund their new venture. The Apple I was their first product, a simple motherboard, but enough to spark interest. Then came the Apple II in 1977, one of the first highly successful mass-produced personal computers. Its success made Apple a household name and turned the young founders into millionaires. By 1980, Apple went public, and Jobs, at just 25 years old, was worth over $200 million. Rise of Apple II and Macintosh. While Apple II was a success, Jobs was already focused on something bigger, a computer that anyone could use, not just hobbyists. Inspired by his visit to Xerox PARC, where he saw a graphical user interface, Jobs envisioned a user-friendly computer. This vision became the Macintosh. Released in 1984, the Mac introduced icons, a mouse, and a desktop interface. Its launch was accompanied by the legendary 1984 commercial directed by Ridley Scott, which presented Apple as a liberator against conformity. Though innovative, the Mac struggled in its early years due to high costs and limited software, yet it set the stage for the future of personal computing. Conflict and leaving Apple. Jobs' perfectionism and strong personality often created tension. He clashed with Apple's board and CEO John Sculley. By 1985, the conflict reached its peak, and Jobs was removed from his leadership role. Jobs later said, "I didn't see it then, but being fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. This painful moment opened new opportunities." Next Pixar years. Jobs founded Next, focusing on powerful computers for education and businesses. The machines were advanced but expensive, and sales were limited. However, Next's software became highly influential and would later play a critical role in Apple's revival. Meanwhile, in 1986, Jobs purchased the graphics group from George Lucas for $10 million. This company later became Pixar. With Jobs' support, Pixar produced Toy Story in 1995, the first fully computer-animated film. It was a massive success, both critically and commercially, launching Pixar as a leader in animation. Pixar went on to release hits like Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, and Up. Jobs became a billionaire, not through computers, but through animation. Return to Apple. By the mid-1990s, Apple was in crisis, losing money and relevance. In 1996, Apple acquired Next for its software, bringing Jobs back to the company. By 1997, he became interim CEO. Jobs simplified Apple's product line, focusing on clarity and design. He also brought in talented designers like Johnny Ive, with whom he built a legendary partnership. Together, they shaped the sleek, minimalist aesthetic Apple is known for. iMac, iPod, iPhone, iPad revolution. In 1998, Jobs introduced the iMac, a colorful, all-in-one computer that captured consumer attention. It was fun, easy to use, and a huge success. But Jobs didn't stop there. In 2001, Apple launched the iPod, transforming how people listen to music. Coupled with iTunes, it revolutionized the music industry. In 2007, Jobs introduced the iPhone, describing it as an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. The iPhone became a cultural phenomenon, reshaping industries from telecommunications to entertainment. In 2010, Apple launched the iPad, creating a new category of devices. Each product launch was more than just technology, it was a carefully staged event, with Jobs' charismatic presentations drawing global attention. Personal life philosophy. Jobs married Lorraine Powell in 1991, and they had 3 children, Reed, Aaron, and Eve. He also had a daughter, Lisa, from a previous relationship. While he sometimes struggled with balancing work and family, Jobs' personal life grounded him. Jobs believed in merging art with technology. He often said, "Technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields the results that make our hearts sing." Illness and last years. In 2003, Jobs was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. He initially delayed surgery, trying alternative treatments, but eventually underwent medical procedures. His health struggles became public, especially as he appeared thinner at events. Despite illness, Jobs continued to lead Apple, introducing groundbreaking products. In August 2011, he resigned as CEO, naming Tim Cook as his successor. On October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at age 56. His death sparked global mourning. Apple stores became memorials, and millions paid tribute to the man who had changed their lives through technology. Legacy. Steve Jobs transformed multiple industries: personal computing with the Macintosh, music with the iPod, smartphones with the iPhone, tablets with the iPad, and animation with Pixar. He left behind not just products, but a mindset to think differently, to value design, and to pursue excellence relentlessly. His story is a reminder that failure, passion, and persistence are all part of the journey to success. Jobs' famous words still inspire. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.